Hi, my friends. Hi, dear friends and friendly subscribers. This is Inner Hill Tarot again. It's been a long time. I did a video with my face. Normally, you just see my hands. But today, it's a little bit of a different kind of video. I'm here with my friends, Nils Hack. He has his own podcast. And today, we're going to talk about what is it about tarot reading that can be so accurate, even though being read by different people. So, Nils, why don't you introduce yourself and what kind of podcast do you do? And yeah, we'll start from there and then you can ask me questions.
Yeah, perfect. I don't feel like I need an introduction anymore because you already said what I'm doing. So yes, I'm Nils. I run a podcast called Transcending the Veil, and essentially it is about any and every topic I'm interested in, mainly focusing around consciousness and on sort of that spiritual path that I'm on or that many people are on, and all the topics that come across that path. And one of those topics is tarot reading. And yes, we've done an interview before, but today, yeah, we wanted to focus a bit more just on tarot reading and the cards that you use.
Yes. So
So,
just to add a little bit of background story, because about this video, the viewers didn't know what actually happened. So I did a podcast already with Nils before, and it was curious because ayahuasca coming into the picture and hijacking the tarot podcast, and then as an exchange, we did a tarot reading. And yeah, I will let Nils explain later on what happening in that tarot reading. But then afterwards, we kind of talk about let's do another podcast session and yeah, YouTube video just about the tarot reading without the plant medicine. Okay, so what happened about in the tarot reading, Nils, that I did for you?
right, what I found very intriguing is that you have a huge number of decks.
Mm-hmm.
And before you did the reading for me, you did sort of a reading for yourself first to see or to evaluate what type of decks are suitable for this reading. And
Mm-hmm.
then you essentially showed me like 9 decks, and I needed to choose 3 decks, which we were working with. And then obviously I chose the 3, and it played out very well. Interestingly, well, not interesting, but which seems to be pretty common now, is that the readings were extremely accurate comparing with psychic readings I had before and all of the knowledge I gathered about my life before as well, and sort of the path I'm on. So yeah, let's start right there. You have a huge collection of decks, which, because when you go into tarot reading and you sort of start looking about information in that field, you come across sort of the main deck. Is
Mm-hmm.
it Alan Watts? Do I remember that correctly? Is that the right name? There's kind of a
Oh,
main deck,
the
and
main.
then
Okay. You go ahead first, the question, and then I will explain. Yeah.
yeah, sure. So you come across sort of a main deck, but then you get like a plethora of various different decks.
Hmm.
So can you sort of explain your angle on, yeah, the many decks that you have and how you work with them, and not just with one deck?
Yeah. So the idea of having gazillion of decks is because, first of all, it's like an idea of having a library of decks because some of them are out of print now and will never be reprinted again. So, and some of the artists died already and the copyrights never being given away. So there's no way you can own some of the decks that I own, basically. Not some, but like a few, you know? Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so that is a little bit precious kind of decks because that is the decks that have a particular point of view from a certain people, and I cherish it quite a bit. And okay, so the idea of the tarot, right? The tarot as a card in itself, it was actually just like a board game, you know, like a card game when it started. And it started very prominently in Italy in the 15th century, actually. And now you can still buy them. There is the name of the Italian particular deck, Sola Buscataro, basically. It's like, it's the name of the game of Saturn. So the game of like manifestation, because Saturn is about the hunkering down into the pentacles, into the earthly realm. And then it's been picked up again, as I said before, by the French, and then by the British in the early 1900s, year of 1900s, by the Arthur Waite and Pamela Coleman Smith, which is, that's what his name, Arthur Waite, Rider Waite Smith Tarot. That's the one.
Yeah. That rings a bell. Yeah.
Rider Waite Smith Tarot, and it was quite a significant deck, and become like a template for many other decks to come. And of course, you know, like if you think about it, in the 1900 to now, there's like maybe 1 million to 2 million different iteration of decks. I don't know if it's going to 2 million, actually. It's not that much yet. But I think if comparing with the oracle cards and the runes, and I think it goes there. Yeah, there's that many. And yeah, why do I use so many decks? First of all, like I said, it's a library. And second of all, I think, I don't know about other people. Some people are very psychic. They only have one deck and they can see everything within one deck. But I think it's because my background as like a photographer. So, and I think that's the life of people now with their iPhones. We live in an age of visuals. So people are constantly bombarded by the visuals, you know, they see different things. And for me, the methodology of I'm working is like painting the picture of my clients using different things, you know. I can see different characteristic of a person when I see different decks lining up together, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Yeah.
So you mainly use those different decks as getting sort of nuanced views on a subject. Is that kind of summed up correctly?
Yeah. I actually make a drawing. For me, it's like if I'm only working with one deck, it feels
Yeah.
like this, you know, when I read.
Ah, right. Yeah.
When I have like more people, it's more like I can see the shape of the hands a little bit and shape of the head. What do they look like from a different kind of iteration of decks, basically? Because tarot decks is about right now, a lot of tarot decks is about explaining the archetype, you know, the archetype of strength, for example. What does strength look like from this particular artist, which called Gregory Scott, for example, right? So strength in this deck, it looks like an angel who giving an inspiration to someone's brain. That's what strength look like, and how to hold it and to manifest it into your life, right? So let's see some other decks. Strength, for example. Like I'm taking like very different extreme, what do you call it? Explanation. No, like example. So this is like the same archetype. This both called strength. But this is
Yeah.
more for the Gen Z, for example. So something that for the Gen Z, because they see text all the time and they don't want to see angels, they don't believe in religion anymore, for example. So for them, it's more resonating with this type of strength card, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I see. Yeah.
yeah, but then why I make you choose out of 9 deck, for example, because I can't ask my clientele what is your date of birth, what is your astrological sign prior to the reading. It's a little bit intrusive. And so I'm using your intuition to tell me who you are, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So
yeah.
is that, do you always do a reading where you do a reading for yourself first, sort of to evaluate what type of decks are you going to use, and then you give the client the selection?
Yeah,
Is it?
normally like that. Yeah. Because every client are very unique, right? And sometimes the decks themselves are screaming, oh, I want to read with this person. So for example, for you, Nils, remember this deck.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
bring it again today because I think this deck is quite resonating with you. So like this is the first deck that coming up to me when you said that you want to have a reading. So and as you know, based on our reading, it was quite correct.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
it was not me, you know. I'm just seeing the deck and the deck, the image of the deck kept on jumping on me. So I have to heed the call, if you will.
Hmm. Out of how many decks do you choose? I mean, what is your collection?
I'm not sure actually. This is quite embarrassing. maybe maybe over 200. Maybe over.
Over 200
Yeah,
decks.
yeah. But I'm
Bloody
cutting them
hell.
down. Yeah. I mean, I originally I wanted to have a little bit of some, this is my dream, some kind of like deck libraries or something like that. But right now I have a personal problems in my marriage, so I'm not sure if this vision will come up anymore. So I think I will have to thinning down and edit down my decks collection and make sure that they're used by, people who actually like to use them. So yeah, so that is what my conundrum right now in my life actually. Yeah.
Have
Why
you
is
done
it?
a read? Have you done a reading about this? That's a bit of a shame to downsize that collection.
Yeah, it is, but at the same time, I think if they belong to me, they will come back to me somehow.
Yeah.
So it's fine. I mean, the really rare ones, for example, there's a deck that's, you know, created by an artist, and she swore she will never print it again because the process of creating the Kickstarter, printing, and sending it out, it's really taxing her. So those kind of decks I will never let go. But the one that's is more, mass market, of course, it's okay for me to let go right now. And in the future, if it's come up again, the chance to work with them, I will work with them again. It's not a big deal.
Mm.
So that's that. Yeah.
From your experience, if you have a huge collection of decks and yeah, now you've done a number of readings, do you see some sort of parallels between the different readings and the decks that you see, all right, if there is this type of energy coming up, this certain deck is always used for some reason. Do you see some things like this, that sort of certain decks are used for certain types of, I don't know, energies, or things in their life? Yeah. Is there correlation that you can draw?
So usually I will categorize my deck according to seasons. So this is like spooky seasons. The autumn season is spooky season. So there's a lot of Halloween type, working with the ancestor, working with the grimoire, the zombies, the vampires type. This is time for the shadow, basically. So I will choose those decks. So regardless the clients that they come, normally they will get those decks. So, and if you have a reading with me in summer, it's more like Lita, it's more like flowery, it's like exuberance, like it's cornucopia, basically. So you will get that type of decks. So that's how I'm working with them. Although sometimes when I do like, okay, we will take it back again now with like, for example, when I go to the plant medicine retreats, I will ask all decks that I see at that moment, which one of you that wants to go to work, basically. Basically, I'm applying animism in this sense because I feel that the tarot decks, the tarot imagery, they all alive. They have their own particular feeling about them. So I ask them which one of you want to work. And one particular deck sometimes is like really loud. I remember one deck is like from a month before. It's like, I have to go to work that month. And like, you never want to go to work. What are you talking about? I have to go. And lo and behold, everybody in that retreat chose that deck. Only one person didn't choose that deck. I'm like, oh my God, and it's like I'm still having a goosebumps going there. And it's because of I don't know, there's a star seeds person also there. I know it's go full woo woo now, but there's a star seed person there. And then the deck that wants to go to work is the star seed deck, and it's just like made in heaven. And we use that deck, and then people go to the ceremony, and the day after, one after one after one again, saying like, oh my God, I'm so glad we did the tarot workshop, because it's make my intention so much clearer on what we're supposed to do and what am I supposed to ask the mother. So yeah, it's a lot of breakthrough for the people in the retreats, so I'm happy about it.
But can we talk about other decks as well? Is it only tarot decks that you have, or is it also, because you just mentioned Starseed deck, and there are a few other similar decks that you sometimes see at ceremonies or retreats. Do you use other decks as well?
Yeah, I use also Oracle decks, but I didn't bring any at this moment. But let me just show you a category of the decks that I have in tarot meaning, because I think if I take oracles and tarot, it starts to be very confusing. But let me just touch on it a little bit. So oracle is like a complementary cards to tarot decks. So for oracle, it's like an additional guidance, an additional timing, or the zodiac person that might be going into that direction, or also like what particular taste you need to acquire, particular food, all in the guidance. So oracles is all about additional guidance, and tarot for me, it's more about the action, what you need to do. Do you need to do something? Do you need to wait? Do you need to laugh? Like this deck, for example, it's just really, really funny. And yeah, so tarot is more about action, basically. That's how I see it. And yeah, so that's that.
Can we talk about the different way to, is it called the spread of the cards, or what? I don't know the proper English phrase for that. The way that you, I know there are different ways. Either you draw one card, or you draw three, or you do a cross, a Celtic cross, and all of these things. How do you use those? Is it like depending on the client, what the client's question is, or have you got a standard way of what you always do, or how does that work?
No, this is when my prior reading to myself work for the clients. Because when I see like, oh, it's probably about love, there's a lot of emotions, all of like cups. Okay, so it's probably about love or family dynamic. So I will choose a certain kind of spreads, which like puts the opposing sides on the opposing side, and then I will put like what is the past energy, what is the current energy, what is the future energy, what is,
Future.
yeah, and what is the stagnant energy between the two of them, and then like combining the energy of both of them together, for example. Or some clients wants to have a reading of a year ahead spread, so you do the kaleidoscope, and then you add the oracle cards, what type of things you need to watch for, are you going somewhere, the traveling, so this type of things. And because,
So
yeah,
do you then have sort of a circle of 12 cards for 12
yeah,
months, or do you go for the lunar calendar with 13?
no, just 12.
Okay.
Yeah, make it simple. because in the tarot reading, sometimes some energy rushing in, and then you have to add the spread already. So if you have like complicated reading, sometimes you forgot, oh, where are we going with this? Me myself
Mm.
getting lost, so I don't want to get lost too much. It's like, okay, let's focus, like make it simple to the 3D, things like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, my methodology, I already said it. Why is that? And yeah, I'm going to touch upon a little bit on the psychological part of it, why I do the way that I do in tarot reading, because I'm reading it not for only oracle to the future, but as we have our reading, it's also about the past and about
Yeah,
about the family system that you have. And this is something that I um, kind of dabbling in from Jung, of course, but also from Rupert Sheldrake. They are kind of like similar and parallel in the terms of like the collective unconscious, and with the morphic field, the morphic field of a person. So meaning what this mean is that in based on Jung, in the collective unconscious, there's a lot of patterns that we don't know, that
mm,
and sometimes it's just archetypal and work through us, something like that. And for me, when I read someone, I read their morphic field by the Rupert Sheldrake. Yeah, are you familiar with this, Nils?
yeah, of course.
Yeah, what do you understand about the morphic field?
Right. I think first, the question is, how do you use that word? Because that word is thrown around quite a lot.
Okay.
Um, if you ask me, what to understand of the morphic field is probably, I would say, a non-physical field that connects everything and where information is stored, where you can read out information. So the best thing to describe is probably when you do aura reading, where it is very particular for you, but the morphic field is a bit more wider spread, connecting everything. That's how I would describe it.
Yeah. Okay, so the morphic field is, for me, that the way I understand it, it's like the way you said it, it's like the collective unconscious patterns. And the morphic fields is the field that we created when we in particular relationship with the other person. For example, now I have a conversation with you. We are creating a field here, right? There's a certain field that we're creating. So that's why in my tarot reading, I'm also creating it in this way. First, I creating a morphic resonance for myself. Like I'm reading things for myself, like what is happening today, what type of day is this. So that is my resonance to the particular day, what kind of energy that's available for me today. And then I will read and think about my clients, what kind of energy that they bring. That is, I'm already connecting my morphic resonance with them, and I'm already creating first the the morphic field before they arrive in the room. Yeah, so so it's half like a magician style. Like, I don't want to say that I'm driving the field, but I think I not recreate, but pre-create the field before the other person arrives.
But why do you refer to it as magician and not as psychic ability? Because I feel like it is really psychic what you do in that sense, the way you describe it. Because with a psychic, that also creates that, right, tuning into that person and starting to read things. And that is essentially what you do as well, right?
Yeah, but I think also there has to be a certain will to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think if it's psychic, it's more spontaneous, like by the by. But then before you can safely go by the by, you have to create the field first, because sometimes when in the day I get a little bit of like, oof, this is like really heavy energy, it's not really good. Then I will pause. Then I said like, oh, today I'm a little bit sick, can we do the reading different day? Because it's not like the other person is bad, but it's just like sometimes when a person is very fiery and the day is really fiery, then the reading, it will be like too much of like conflict, talking about conflict, and you don't want to talk about so much conflict in reading. There is like conflict and resolutions, please, but I mean, I also cannot lie like, oh, this is like look like a resolution when it's like all swords, it's like and the client is not blind, they can see like this is not good, so you also don't want to read. For me, I don't want to read in those days. It's like, okay, this is probably not a good day for that client to have a reading. Let's do it another day. So that's why I said like it's more about the magician role. That's creating things in a certain way. That's how I feel about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Can we quickly talk about the standard playing card deck, right, where you have the 4 suits and all of that?
Yeah. Why would you have to know?
Can you use that standard card deck also for tarot reading?
No.
Okay.
No.
I was just curious because I recently was made aware of that there is a huge analogy between astrology and the standard card deck, where you have, we have 4 seasons, we have 4 suits. Then we have, was it 52 cards, and we've got 52 weeks, exactly. Yeah. And that started to be interesting, where you then see a bit of astrology in the decks as well when you start to use them for readings. So I was wondering if you can even do the link to tarot reading with these decks.
Yeah. Yeah, you were saying, keep going.
Yeah, it was just a curious question. How do you sometimes use a standard card deck as well as kind of, if you're around friends and they want to do a tarot reading and they say, oh shit, we haven't got tarot cards, but we've got a standard card deck. Could you sort of use that as well for something? Because the alignment already is quite interesting with astrology. So my question is there a use case for standard card deck in, I don't know, readings in general?
It is curious because even the tarot cards themselves, they don't go to 78 cards until very, very recently. I think, if I'm not wrong, it is when it goes to France, the tarot, they start to get the shape that they're in right now with 78. Before there are only like 30 cards to 46 cards because they were like a game. It's not like made
Yeah,
for
yeah.
a reading. But then what makes the tarot cards different from a regular playing cards is because the major arcana, the secrets, the major secrets, which is more like the archetypal, that's supposed to be not ours. It's supposed to be like the angelic realm in itself. That's
Okay,
the, yeah.
before we go into that,
Mm,
first of all, the question that you just used a word called major arcana, but then
mm,
you also have the minor
yes,
arcana. Can
yeah.
you quickly explain
Oh, yeah, sure.
what is that?
So the minor arcana is your playing card.
Right.
Yeah, so
Okay.
the minor arcana is about everyday life. It's about the layman life. That's
And in terms of cards, you have sort of what is the Two of Pentacles, Ten of Pentacles, and then
so the
King. And
pentacles
that,
is, yeah, the pentacles are the diamonds, basically.
yeah,
And the only thing that they don't have in the playing cards are the pages. So they
yeah.
only have the Jack, Queen, and King.
Hmm.
So there's no pages there. And because pages are sometimes being called the messenger, this thing. Let me, this is normally the pages, the
Yeah.
messenger,
Okay.
the aha moment, the the light bulb moment. So there are the pages, and they're not in your playing cards, because it's for playing. Yeah, it's not for like looking for inspiration. Basically, if I see playing cards, actually now that you mention it, it's more actually to deluding yourself than actually looking for something like in the tarot. Like in a tarot decks also there's a fake, like fake printing. So
Okay.
there's a lot of tarot deck now because the real ones are very expensive. So a lot of producers, factories from China, normally they're fake it, make it smaller, make it cheaper, thin layer of paper, and selling it very cheap. Well, very cheap for European standard, but in
Yeah,
China
yeah.
still expensive. So in a way,
Now I need to check if my card deck is a real one.
yeah, you have to check. If it's like super cheap, normally it's counterfeit. Sorry to say this, but it's true. Um, so to me, it's like the notion of playing cards. It's actually, how can I say this? It's kind of like, making like if you're like a poor person, so the way that you kind of comfort yourself to buy something that's similar than to like the expensive one, but
Mm.
of course in the lesser quality kind of feeling.
Yeah.
So it looks the same, but it will never be the same because there's like the elements is missing, like the pages is missing, the major arcana is missing. So
Right. Let's talk about the major arcana now. What
yeah.
is that?
So the major arcana is called the major secrets in tarot. What is the major secrets? It's more like it's one of the fool's journey. And most of the time it's called the archetypal journey because it started from the fool. Do you want the full thing about this?
Yeah,
So
let's go in there.
yeah, so there is like a 22 cards, and normally it start with 0 with the full. So look,
Okay.
like in tarot, it's Instagram and tarot. It's very modern. So, so yeah, it's start with the fool. So what is the fool? The fool is someone who has no experience when doing something. It's not like really the full court jester. So it goes into a journey. First the fool is meeting the magicians, right? It's like, okay, this is what you need to do. This is your the rule game of life, basically. So it's like a soul get born, and you meet a certain archetype along the way, like the high priestess. This is your intuition. You will get there, and this is how you're going to make your living. This is what you can say no to. This is your domain. So this is all the rules that you know this is your choices of love or whatever. But actually, lover cards is not about love, it's about choices, actually, to say no or yes. So the major arcana is more about the archetypal journey, which is not in your regular playing cards.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that is what missing.
So in a reading, when
Mm,
you have the minor arcana
mm,
cards
mm,
showing up,
mm.
those are more day-to-day things. And then
Yeah,
when you have a major arcana showing up, then it is sort of
life
a
changing.
live pivotal
Yeah,
topic.
moments. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. All right.
like life
Understood.
lessons, basically.
Yeah. Mm.
So that's why, like, yeah, you can use actually also the what do you call it, the playing cards, but then it's kind of like it's everyday life things. You don't. It's kind of like the rat mill. It's not
Yeah,
about,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
You
it's
don't,
not
you don't
about
get
the
to see.
major stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that's that.
All
Yeah.
right. Have we covered everything now?
You think so? Do we?
What is still on your mind? We can probably
Oh,
never finish, but in terms
yeah.
of the major topics, I think we more or less got there.
Yeah. So why are you interested in doing this podcast, this YouTube video with me today, actually?
Why? Because I wanted to understand a bit more about tarot cards. Um, and especially since you did the reading for me, which was very interesting because
Mm,
it was very accurate. And I found it intriguing the way you did the reading, whereas not just you turned up with one card deck and
mm,
did the sort of standard reading,
mm-hmm,
where it's like you told me in the beginning, right, I've done a reading before we even met, and those are the 9 decks that are possibly suitable for this reading today, and you should choose 3 out of these 9.
mm,
And then obviously it went with the 3 that I chose, and it was very obviously very instantly clear, right? This card is for the past, this is present, this is future, and you did the reading. It was very accurate. Um, and that I found interesting because I've never seen anyone do a reading like this. Usually it's just, the standard tarot deck, do a standard reading, but this felt a bit more, no, there's a bit more to it. So I
yeah.
thought, yeah,
Oh, okay.
obviously I constantly carry the question around in my head is how many decks do you actually have?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, for me, it's kind of, um, it's very important for me to have a gigantic selection, because I really also interested in what kind of morphic resonance that this client have, basically. That's always a
Mm,
particular interest for me. So also to have like the ability to have a different decks and to read their particular energies are really it's a very it's a luxury, basically, because this is our artwork, and they're like collectible arts, really. This is like poor people arts, to be quite honest. And yeah, and because my background was photographer, so I always set the background first, because I do studios, even in outdoor. I have to prepare the background, otherwise it's really messy on the shooting day. So that's what I'm bringing into my next stage of my work. I'm still bringing in photography. I love the art, so that's how I bring it. And yeah, I'm bringing in my extra knowledge now about the morphic field and the collective unconscious, because in someone's morphic resonance, there's not always them. There's also the family system, the people
Yeah.
before them. They always there with them. So that's when also like preparing the morphic field is really helpful, because sometimes the ancestor coming in and like, oh, I need to tell this person this, they didn't listen. So it's like one client is really like that. I have a reading for like the year for the work, and I said, I know that we're reading for work, but there's something personal that you really need to know. And it's like, no, 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 no. Let's do the circle, the year first, and then if we have time, we do the personal. So we did the year, and then like it's really important we do the personal. So it's like, okay, let's do the 5 minutes, and I did the 5 minutes, and it's actually her grandfather that passed away and wanted to connect with her. And she said, oh, I really want to connect with my grandfather actually, and I don't know how. So you see that there's always
Mm.
the correspondence, there's always a reason. That's why preparation is crucial for me before reading. Yeah.
That's interesting. Because I've always seen tarot cards, and years ago I honestly wasn't interested in them.
Mm.
I found that a bit strange and weird.
Ooh.
But once you've been to a number of gatherings, ceremonies,
Yeah.
or retreats, you always see people having cards around, like, starseed cards, angel cards, tarot cards.
Yeah.
And I obviously started to draw them. And then I had your reading. And that was very interesting because it was very accurate, because I had so much sort of introspective things going on in my life, so many psychic readings, and it correlated all of these information. So that was interesting. That was so accurate.
Mm.
And since then, I got a bit more serious about it.
More serious.
And no, I mean,
Okay.
in a way, I didn't dismiss the cards anymore, but I took them serious. Because always when I drew a card since then, it was really accurate to the topic that was currently going on, either sort of the intention I brought into that deck, sort of into that drawing, or the question I had on the day.
Mm.
And even 2 days ago, I did a quick sort of 3 card spread, and it was very clear. It's kind of okay. Why is it getting so reliable now? And obviously got my own deck now and start to get into this. So very, very interesting.
How did you choose your deck?
How? Um, I actually, it came about in a slightly different way, that I have been advised to look into tarot cards a few months ago. So 1 or 2 months ago, where it was actually a conversation with Kevin Ryerson, and I'm intrigued about my psychic abilities. And he
Mm.
said, since I'm very mind and visually dominant person,
Mm.
he says, right, you may want to look into tarot cards because it is a doorway into your psychic abilities. Um, and he essentially said, right, your psychic abilities are there where your major abilities are in your life, right? That is how you go into your psychic abilities. It's not this hard training into something. No,
Yeah.
it's using your abilities. And he said,
Meditation 3 hours every 3 a.m. Yeah. Well, you can do it
yeah,
that way as well, of course, actually. Yeah. Anyway.
yeah, exactly. So he had a very nice and interesting explanation, which got me even more interested in tarot cards for myself now. So
Mhm.
yeah, and then I didn't go with any sort of unknown deck. I just went with the major deck, and now I want to see if it is a real one or sort of a cheap one. But I paid a fair amount of money, so I assume it's a real one.
Yeah.
Um,
But I mean, if it's like for yourself, and also if you're still learning, it's okay, you know. But if
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
like a professional and you have clients paying for you, it's better to use the real one because I mean, if you're doing the law of animism, everything have energy, right? How can you do like a legit work with something that you buy counterfeited?
yeah, of course. Yeah,
It's
absolutely agree.
plastic,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. Anything else? It's a little
Not
bit
not
awkward now. Yeah. So
not
how
from my side, no.
okay, so if my friends and friendly subscribers would like to get in touch with your podcast, how should they look for you?
Yeah, it's simply available on every podcast platform such as Spotify, Apple Podcast, and just look for Transcending the Veil, and you should find me.
Okay, so that's that with Nils. And thank you so much, my dear friends and friendly subscribers. I hope this YouTube video slash podcast is not boring for you because you're all like really my subscribers. They are like oof top spots, you know, like they're all a lot of them are readers by themselves. But that's why also I do a lot of the videos of unboxing so that people
Oh,
can see.
oh,
Yeah, I have 900 something videos of unboxing in YouTube because I want people to be able to see the cards first before they decided to purchase or not. And also psychically, like as you say, they want I can I hope I help them to make them see if the deck is for them or not, you know. So
yeah, yeah.
I do it like that and reviewing them.
Oh, interesting. Oh, I just immediately need to think about a reading I had in Egypt. There was a lady and she had a tarot deck which was sort of Egyptian,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like with gold in there. It was
Yeah,
really
Nefertari Tarot,
beautiful.
I think. Yeah, Nefertari Tarot, I think. Yeah, I
Possibly.
yeah.
Yeah, I need to show you a picture. It was
Okay.
really nice.
Okay. So we go off now. Don't go
Yeah.
away. I'm just gonna pause the button for the people. And dear friends and friendly subscribers, see you next time and get into Neil's podcast. You see a lot of people. You will hear a lot of interesting people there. Okay, see you. Bye.